for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Mike.
All right, and we start off with the Standard, where the headline is yet more money that may have left the coffers into, let's just call it, pockets that are unknown. Kickback probe, and this is to do with the dams. I think this is a story that the media has been on top of for the last week or so. And kickback probe, how 4 billion cash was taken. And detectives who have already questioned the cabinet secretary now probing for the 4 billion of the 6.3 billion Kenyan shillings to an Italian company before dam project started was wired back and quickly cashed at a bank branch in Nairobi's Westlands area. Bernard,
yes,
and 4 billion shillings, that's a lot of money. If we were to even break down what one can do with 4 billion shillings, or rather what a country can do with 4 billion shillings, it really is sad to see that this could be money that has ended up in individuals' pockets.
Mike, it's very sad this morning that we are talking about this amount of figure. 63 billion that people are just talking about. You know, this is a huge amount of money. And when we talk about the 4 billion that has already been swindled, this is the amount of money that can go into our health sector. You see, our nurses are ever striking, teachers are not underpaid. You look at all sectors that are supposed to provide social services to Kenyans. They are doing very badly. Yet, we have this huge amount of money that people are just playing with, like groundnuts in the pocket, you know. You talk of a figure, then you wonder, how did this money just get into these guys, you know, just to be misused like that?
Absolutely.
So I think it's high time that I want to laud the ANC leader who has talked about, who has called upon the president to crack the whip. We have had so much of these talks, and the president has been talking, but it seems he is not walking the talk. People are taking him, you know, lately they think now president will just be talking, but there will be no action. So it's high time that the president cracks the whip, starting from the head. And when you look at this authority, the Kerio Valley Development Authority, Mike, you realize that almost all the directors belong to one ethnic group. And then the question that begs is, how do we ensure that there's regional balances in these state-owned parastatals or institutions? You put alone the Kerio Valley. We had a scandal in the National Cereals and Produce Board. When the names were produced again of the directors, almost 99% were from the one ethnic group.
And then you hear the narrative when the DCI and ODPP catch up with them that it is people from one community that are being targeted.
Yeah,
yes, so of course,
it's very sad. It's very sad, Mike. If we have, you know, corruption starts from such kind of arrangement, because these are people who can transact business within in a board meeting in a vernacular, in their mother tongue, you know. And if they do that, then it provides a fertile ground for initiating corruption or corrupt deals.
And of course, it leaves the question, it begs the question of how recruiting was done, even for having those people done. Because is it then to say that it's only them who qualified, or was it by design that they were actually put together? And of course, now we see the issues. And for those of you who maybe have not caught up with this story, the Standard has broken down how this money was paid off to the Italian company. But as soon as the money hit the account of the Italian company, it was then transferred to London and back to Kenya, and then withdrawn from Kenya. So of course that, Bernard, the question is, if we're able to go through that paper trail and that money trail that left Italy to London, Westlands, not even Kenya or Nairobi, Westlands specifically, so it's a specific bank, then how difficult should it be to identify and put names to this money?
When you look at this story, Mike, there are big names, you know, that appear to have been involved in the entire scandal. But you know what saddens me the most is the fact that Kenya is borrowing a lot of money. Just recently, the CS borrowed another $1 billion to pay debts. $1 billion is around 100 billion Kenya shillings. And this money that is being borrowed, to pay another debt, a debt that we don't know how this money is being used. The money comes, then it's, you know, just taken by people, and nothing, no action is being taken on these guys.
Absolutely.
So I think this proper paper trail, if the DCI is serious and corruption commission and, you know, and money laundering bodies, authorities are serious about this issue, they can easily nail down the culprits. And I've seen the continued association of, you know, people are mentioned, but you see the story that, you know, this and so is from this and this office, like the chief of staff from the DP's office. You know, let's not talk about DP's office. Let's say so-and-so has been involved in corruption. You know, trying to put a DP's name is like trying to cover up the whole thing and put a blanket that this person who works at DP's office, so he must have received instruction from DP. But let's deal with the individual. This is a guy who works there, yes. Mike, you work at Standard here. So if you fall into criminal activity, let's not start saying somebody mentioning your immediate boss or your boss. Let us put names and faces on these scandals and nail them. All
right, and talking about names and faces, do get yourself a copy of the Standard and see what that money trail is all about. From 6.3 billion, 4 billion ended up back in Westlands and was withdrawn maybe as cash. And of course, that also highlights, and we're probably going to see it in the newspapers.
And another thing, Mike, is that, you know, this money was being paid before even the initial activities started taking place on that project.
In fact, after reading the document, there seems to not even have been a watertight contract.
Yeah.
So one wonders how the monies was